Hello and welcome to episode 2 of the FBFC podcast. And with it being international break, this week we're deciding our 26-man England squad. It is international break. There's been no Premier League this week in real life. But Rich, you've had a busy weekend on the virtual pitch.
I have. E-Premier League just took place over the weekend. Man City victorious again, but they maybe not going to be the Premier League champions, but they can win it on FC. Yeah, great weekend. And I actually took some time out on Friday night to watch England in action, and I'm sure we'll talk about that enthralling game of football against Uruguay later on as well.
Kieran, no Arsenal to ruin your weekend this weekend? Did you watch the England game?
I didn't watch much of it, but I did see the highlights, and there's a certain goal scorer which I'm obviously looking forward to discussing. But yeah, international weeks really aren't for me. I very much missed the Premier League this weekend.
Well, speaking of Premier League, we will touch on a little bit of Premier League news before we get into the England squad. Obviously, Igor Tudor, I think it was 44 days he's lasted, and now he has been sacked as Tottenham manager. One win, and that was against Atletico in a two-legged game that they got battered anyway, and one draw away at Liverpool. Should they have kept him just till the end of the season, or was it the right move?
No, they had to twist. I think if they stick, they go down. I like the twist from Spurs. I think it shows that they know they're clearly in a lot of trouble. They know that they are probably, if you look at a graph trend, on the trajectory down, and they had to do this. Reports coming out that De Zerbi, they're looking at in advanced talks. I think I saw just before we started recording, 5-year deal is what they're aiming towards for De Zerbi. I mean, is he the man to keep him up? I think he was great at Brighton, wasn't he? He's done great things over in Ligue 1 as well. Whether or not he can keep him up, it's a bigger task than I think a lot of people are actually looking at, because their team right now and the players that are on that pitch are simply just not playing well enough to stay in the Premier League for me still.
Like, realistically, are they beyond saving at this point? Like, because I'm looking at the list of the managers that they're looking at. Like, the candidates that were released yesterday, I think it was Glenn Hoddle was in there. Ben Davis, player manager, was in there. Like, it's a really poor selection. And are they just too far gone now and they just go down whatever?
I hope so. From my side, I hope so. I know we kind of touched on it last week. I do unfortunately think it'll be West Ham that go down, but I'm hoping that swaps round. It's a deal. They should have done it sooner. They should have got rid sooner. It just never clicked at all, even from the start. And I get sometimes you got to give managers time, but they kind of just kept running out further of whatever time was, I guess, remaining. And now they're in a pretty scary position. I've got a few friends who support Tottenham who have pretty much accepted the fact they're going down. I still don't think they will. I think they're just saying that. But yeah, I think the board at Tottenham have probably left it a week or two too late to have taken action. But at the same time, we've mentioned it before, there's not many managers available right now in the world of football. Like, getting an elite manager probably isn't going to happen because of, where they are. And even like these relegation specialists, there actually isn't too many available currently. Notably, though, I saw a couple of Roy Hodgson's back in management. Can we just mention that quickly? Did you all see that?
How old is Roy Hodgson now? 80?
Got to be in his 80s, surely.
I believe he's 78.
78?
You're allowed to retire. You don't need to keep working.
Was he a candidate here? Like, in all seriousness, like.
I mean, I think he must be. If you've managed the game of football and you're out of a job, I think you are technically a candidate for this Tottenham job.
I'm baffled. I'm baffled that if it is De Zerbi they go for, that Dyche wasn't the one. I know we spoke about it last week. I thought he is a relegation specialist. He keeps teams in the Premier League. That's what he does. Like, that is his specialty. He gets results when teams are poor. I just don't know if De Zerbi can go in there and turn it around as quick as they need it to be turned around. Because if he goes in there, they've played 31 games, he loses 2 out of 3 of the next 3, he's going into the last 4 games needing 9 points, for example.
Yeah.
I don't see that happening. I could see Daesh instantly hitting the ground running and picking up a win or back-to-back wins. And then there's a world in which if Spurs win 4 out of the next 7, they finish on like 40 points and they're pretty safe. It's going to be a wild turn of events. But the right time to do it for me, you give him now, about a week and a half with the FA Cup fixtures as well, to get in there if they do employ him over the next 24 hours. And good luck to Spurs, good luck to De Zerbi.
Yeah, that's my only issue with De Zerbi is he someone that they were more targeting for next year if they do stay up and he's got a full season to work with them. Like, it's whether he can impact the squad that quickly to keep them. Well, that's like you said. I think Daesh until the end of the season just seems like I'm not in charge of Tottenham. I don't know how easy these decisions are to make. But for me, Daesh, it doesn't seem like there's another option.
I think just on that, I don't think he would have left had they not already have someone in mind. I'm going to assume whoever's coming in is already agreed at this point. Yeah. And if not, Tottenham are a bigger mess than we think. if that's not actually already in place, they're a bigger mess. Just quickly before, I know we've obviously got England to talk about today, but I was just looking at odds for next manager, right? And there's a fairly interesting amount of names on this list, which is why I bring it up. Obviously, De Zerbi is by far the favourite right now. Sean Dyche is actually second, and then Harry Redknapp. Those are your top 3. But just as I'm scrolling a bit further down this list, right, you've got Ryan Mason's name being mentioned. I think he's in like the top 5. Again, I don't think that's a surprise. He's obviously done similar roles in the past. There's also Robbie Keane. But interestingly, just a bit further down, just actually under Pochettino, who obviously is internationally managing right now, and I don't think there was any chance he's going to leave his post with the tournament coming up. But anyway, just under Pochettino is Ben Davies.
I think that'd be so good. I think it'd be so funny.
Do you not think that's wild?
Honestly,
what a weird name.
Giving it Romero and just going, you do whatever you want. Just do whatever you want. Was Roy Keane in there? Was he? I know he's a Spurs fan, isn't he? Well, he's a low Spurs fan. He likes Spurs. They were his boyhood team, I'm pretty sure.
He's not on the list that I have in front of me.
Okay.
I think the interesting one for me on that list was Harry Redknapp in 3rd, considering he's meant to be going back on I'm a Celebrity. I don't know when that's happening, but I know he was announced to be going back on that. So I don't know whether he's...
I think if you're getting offered... I think there's 2 very different offers right there. I think you probably want the manager gig if you have to do a trade-off.
ITV will probably match it. I heard a few Spurs fans saying Harry Redknapp with Tim Sherwood. Harry Redknapp for the feel-good, Tim Sherwood trying to get us in there and almost disciplinary. But hey, look, I cannot wait to see these last run-in of the Premier League because everything really is still up for grabs. Champions League, Premier League title, relegation scrap. We've not had a season like this for a little while where everything is still up for grabs.
No, it makes a nice change rather than City running away with it. All 3 teams down at this point. Like, should be an interesting last few games. Should we get into World Cup chat and decide on our starting 11/26-man squad?
Yes,
do it.
I think this will be an interesting one. We've got 3 very different mindsets on the podcast this week. 3 different teams that we all support, and obviously Richie's coming from a non-Premier League bias as well. So there could be some fun there.
I see it for how it is. I see the football for how it is.
No bias.
Absolutely.
So we'll start with goalkeepers. I think this is probably one of the more self-explanatory picks. I think Jordan Pickford has to be the starting goalkeeper. There's no other option. The only discussion for me would be who do we take as backups?
Yeah.
Like my opinion, I'd go with James Trafford and Dean Henderson. I think both very solid keepers. I just don't know whether we need 3 of the same type of goalkeeper in a way.
I'll be honest, it sounds harsh, but I think everyone other than Pickford, it's much of a muchness. I don't really care. I don't want Pickford to not play. Like Pickford is...
Unless Pickford gets injured, none of these are playing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. He's been great for Everton this season, I've got to say. Like, some of the saves he's made have been really, really good. And also, I know there were a bit of criticism against him when other keepers were coming through and like saying, give someone else a chance, give someone else a chance. He's never played poorly for England. He's always played well. He's in a few of these tournaments, he's been our best player for multiple games.
I also don't like when people specify like, oh, he's never played badly for England. I don't think he's really ever played badly for Everton either. Like, he's been solid for the last...
He had a spell, didn't he? He had a spell where they were conceding a lot of goals. Yeah. But I just think the team were conceding a lot of goals. Exactly. I can't remember him having howlers.
No, it's always been, if Everton are playing badly, like, it's never his fault. It's more just whoever they've got in that back four isn't having a great game.
I like that he's vocal. He's obviously captain for Everton as well. He lets people know if they're not playing well. I think he's actually one of our leaders in that England team. And if we're going to have a good World Cup, I think he will undoubtedly play a part in it.
Yeah, I think he's probably one of the few that are still around from the 2018 World Cup when we got to the semi-finals. I can't imagine there's too many of them left in this squad. He's also like really good in shootouts as well. So if it does come down to it, we get on to penalties again. I've got full faith in him. Like, I know some other like nations, like I think it was especially De Gea when he was playing for Spain. It was like if they went to penalties, all right, De Gea's not saving a single one. Yeah. But I would feel very confident going to a shootout with Jordan Pickford. He can score a good penalty as well. There was one in the Nations League against Switzerland. I remember I think it might have been third or fourth. He just stepped up and put it top corner.
Listen, Southgate's not managing anymore. We shouldn't be planning for penalties. Yeah, we don't need penalties on our mind already. Well, I think it's pretty unanimous there. And Pickford is not just in the squad, but he's without doubt starting number one. 100%. So it's a case of just we've got a bit of a list here. We've got Trafford, Ramsdale, Pope, Henderson, Steele was in the squad, so he's on the list. There's Butland on this list as well. There's probably some other goalkeepers that we haven't mentioned, but it is just a case of who's the backups, who's going to be helping Jordan warm up. Yeah. I think Henderson is probably the more guaranteed number two.
Yeah.
And then it's just a case of who is that third choice. I, from like a personal level, would like it to be Ramsdale. I don't think it will be. I think you probably do take Trafford because one, he's solid keeper, solid backup, but also I feel like you always want a younger one in there just to get them ready for future tournaments too.
Well, he's also been playing backup this season for most of it already, so he knows what that's like, sitting on the bench and watching. That's no disrespect to him either. He thought he was going to be number one. So the fact that he's kept his character, he's not wanted to force a move, he's still playing the games, and he's playing well when he's getting called into it. If Pickford did get injured, you'd have faith in either of those goalkeepers to go through. But yeah, I think for me, I'm happy with any of them. I've got no real affinity to any of them. Henderson, Trafford, Ramsdale, whoever it is.
Yeah,
good luck.
Like
to
you said, you probably want to take a younger one as your third, just because they're more likely to. Like Trafford is more likely to be a starting goalkeeper in maybe the next World Cup. Just having some World Cup experience going into the next one would be useful.
He'll get a chance at that shirt once he leaves Man City, because I think we all know his career trajectory is just being shattered by that Donnarumma transfer.
I think he needs to.
Newcastle. I think Newcastle in the summer is.
I think we send him to Newcastle with a buyback. He can wait out Donnarumma, and we'll have him back in a year's time.
Can I?
Stays at City for that long.
I've got one to throw out, and some fans might hate that I'm going to say this, and I know it's not a transfer podcast this week. James Trafford to Chelsea.
Yeah,
they need a keeper. They need a keeper. They will pay the money. I think that's a real possible move.
They do love our academy kids as well.
There you go. So I think we're all happy to agree with Pickford, Trafford, and Henderson, and then move on to what's going to be a really fun one. Right backs. Dan, you want to talk us through them?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think the big talking point here is Trent. Obviously, he's been left out of the 35-man squad with no real explanation. Personally, I think he should be starting. He is I think he's one of England's best players. He's so on the ball. He's so technically gifted. And he's such a unique player. I don't think we have anything like it. The only other person I would consider starting ahead of him is Reece James, but I can't count on him for his injuries, for his injury record. But we do have a there's a good range of right backs to pick from.
Well, if they stay fit, which is
stay
a
fit, exactly.
big contention point on this list. Again, for context, we've got Trent, Ben White, Reece James, Livramento, Trippier. I can't believe I'm saying this. Jed Spence's on this list, and I believe this is Rico Lewis to end up with the options. Yeah. I mean, again, I really want to use my Arsenal bias here and say Ben White should be given a shot, but in reality, like starting position, he's not there. I kind of do agree that it probably should be Trent, but with an asterisk on it. I think it kind of depends on who you're playing against. I think we kind of saw in previous World Cups why Kyle Walker was the right back, especially when you have like matchups against a very pacey France. You've got Mbappe and the likes of players like that just running at you. Trent's not going to deal with that in a big game, unfortunately. So I agree Trent would be my starter, but it also means that I think you do take another right back option, which we'll get onto in a moment, to switch out, I guess, if there's a positional matchup. Rich?
I just don't understand how Trent isn't in. It's not even 35, sorry. It's a 37-man squad because 2 players pulled out and he still didn't get picked, which for me shows... It shows one glaring thing that even though we've all said we think Trent should be in not only the squad but on the periphery of starting at right back, the chances are he's probably not going to go.
Yeah.
If he's not in this squad, he's clearly not fancied him. I think I saw a stat he's played like 22 minutes, I think it might be, under Tuchel throughout his entire run. I can't get my head around it. Maybe there's things that we don't see as fans that we're not savvy to. But when you were at Liverpool, I don't recall any reports of him being sort of unruly in the dressing room or causing disrepute. I don't understand why he wouldn't fancy him. I think if he was French, if he was Spanish, if he was Brazilian or Argentine, he would be starting right back and he would be creating chances and probably impacting games for that nation. If what we're saying is he's not probably going to start, I think it more than likely is Reece James. I think he's the only one who can do it both offensively and defensively. Offensively in that final area of the pitch, as good as Trent. I know I really like Livramento as well. I think he can play on either side, which adds a little bit of flexibility.
Yep.
You can probably count out a couple of these players that we've talked about. Rico Lewis is getting nowhere near the team. Trippier, I were expecting a retirement post from him.
Yeah.
Jed Spence, he does like him, Tuchel. He's played him quite a lot. He does like Jed Spence. I wouldn't be surprised if Jed Spence were on the plane.
Yeah.
But it shouldn't be for me. No Tottenham player should be going to the World Cup.
I think that's fair.
That's just mind-blowing that you take them.
Yeah.
Ben White, I'm not sure on. I'm not sure on Ben White. I'm really not.
I don't think he's done enough this season. Like, he only really came back, unless like I've just not been paying too much attention to Arsenal, but he only really came back for the Carabao Cup final because Timber was injured. Like, I've not noticed him too much this season.
I think that's because Timber's been so good. Like Timber's been the best right back in the league. You don't displace that. I don't think there's a right back that's even close to Timber this season.
Can you then take Ben White as your right back if he's been sat on the bench all season?
Not to start, no.
Do we need 2 right backs?
Yeah.
Sorry, do we need 3? Do you need to take 3 right backs, or do you take a centre half that can play right back?
I think it's you more take, and this is why, even though I want Ben White to go, I don't think he will. I think you've got players in Trent and Reece James that we've all collectively said that we think should go, but they're 2 players who also play 2 roles. They both play that right back role, and they both can do that midfield, that inverted, like whatever is asked. So you've got some positional movement there. So I think on top of that, is it worth taking a more standard defined right back, a bit more of a, I would say, structured player? Because like Trent plays freely, right? He does what he wants, and that's why he's so good creatively. Reece James also has that like license to kind of do what he wants, but he can't stay fit. So I still think you need another option there, and that's why I would take Trent, James, and then my third option would be my cover option, and you've already mentioned it, Livramento, because he can play both sides. So as much as I would like Ben White to go if I'm picking the squad, taking my Arsenal hat off, I'm not taking him, sadly. I unfortunately think his best years have been outside of the England squad because of obviously everything that went on. We still don't know the full details. There was obviously some issues with the coach. Hopefully it all comes out at some point. But for the past few years, I think he should have been England's right back. Yeah. For this upcoming tournament, yeah, for me, Trent, James, and Livramento would be my
I think
three.
That'd be my three as well. Like I'm a big fan of Livramento. I think he's a great fullback. I want him at City. Like you said, he can play right, he can play left. And I think just because the squad is so limited in size, having versatility, I think just for any position is a positive and kind of gives you that edge over other players who can only play in that position. But yeah, I think that's the three I'd go for. And I think we all agree on those three.
Yep. Should we move on to centre back?
Yeah.
This one's a long list. Let's
a long list.
Let's do the names first, just so there's context given out, because there's a lot. So we've got Matt Gahey, John Stones, Harry Maguire, Konsa, Tomori, Colwill, Tarkovsky's on this list. We've got Smalling. Put Smalling on this list.
He was on my list of England players.
For those listening, I want it to be noted, Dan's put this list together for us. We've got Dan Burn in there, who, to be fair, I think he's got a fairly good chance. Chalobah, Gomez. Is that Eric Dyer?
It is Eric Dyer.
He's
playing Champions League football.
This is a wild list. We've got Duncan Kwanzaa.
I didn't want to miss anyone out. I'd rather put more players on.
No. That's fair. That's fair. I think just to kick things off, I think we can probably, or at least I hope we can agree. I think for a while, England have really struggled with key centre back options. Yeah. Like since like the days obviously Ria, Terry, and those kind of players, Campbell and all them lot. I don't think we've had too many like this is definitely the England centre back. This is the main man at the back. I don't think we've had that for a long time. The man who's, I guess, been there most consistently has actually been Harry Maguire, who I think for England is actually, or at least has been, a pretty key player.
He'd be my first choice, honestly.
But like we don't have that like 100%. Yeah. That's England centre back. Love it. So I guess maybe should we go around? I presume we're all thinking of playing a 4 at the back if we were hypothetically in charge, right?
Yeah.
So maybe go around, pick what our starting 2 would be, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah.
Dan, you want to go ahead?
So I think my starting 2, I was going to say if they're fit. John Stones is not going to be fit realistically. Like, I love the guy, and I think he's a great defender, but I don't think he'll be fit in time. So my starting 2 would be Gahey and Maguire.
Okay. Rich?
Yeah, I agree with one of those 2. I agree with Mark Gahey. I think he was very, very good this season for Palace. Moved to Man City, and I think he's not looked out of place at Man City at all. I think he's actually transitioned quite well. And my second centre-back will be Konsa. I think I really do like Ezri Konsa. I think Maguire, he's right there, but I think for how... I don't know, I think Konsa and Gahey, a little bit more legs between them. And I know what you were saying about Maguire. He's never played bad for England, etc. But I like that. I like that partnership of Gahey and Konsa. I think if Stones was fit and if Stones was playing, I've got no problem with going Stones and Maguire because they've got that partnership together. But I think the 2 is important. I think Gahey and Konsa I like as that duo.
Yeah, and I think the thing with Maguire is that he's always played well when we've played in a back 3.
Yes,
and like you said, he's not as quick as the others, but that's always been fine because he's got 2 around him. Whether he's that same defender in a back 4, and there's only the 2 of them, I think that's where you would lean towards Konsa.
Yeah, I'm in a pretty much agreement with Rich, and for similar reasons. Because in my head, if Trent's starting, I think Matt Gahey is the first centre back.
He's that best defender.
Yeah, so he's in. He's that left centre back for me. So it's about picking the right centre back, and I don't want Maguire to be in the right centre-back role when I want Trent to be moving around, because he's just not going to be able to. He's never been a mobile
You leave
centre-back
him that
option.
entire right-hand side to cover.
Yeah.
And
Everyone knows Trent is not a great defender. There is going to be gaps in behind. So for me, that right centre-back role needs to be someone who can move a bit. Conte is obviously a bit more mobile. Well, I say a lot more mobile than Harry Maguire. Most centre-backs are. So for that reason, Maguire doesn't start for me. However, he is 100% in this squad. He's 1,000,000% on that plane. A great option if we need to tactically switch and for whatever reason we need to defend more.
Stick him up front.
Yeah,
we need a goal.
It's a very viable option at international level. So for me, Gahey and Conte would be my starters. I also, and I know it's a real hipster thing, I wouldn't mind seeing like a bit more of some other names in the international fold. That's what these friendlies are meant to be for, but instead we're just chucking out random teams against Uruguay on a Friday night. I'd kind of like to see a bit more of Tomori. This is where like the Premier League bias obviously comes in. Yeah. I don't think I've seen Tomori play like a lot of football because obviously he's been in a Serie A for so long. He's always, from like reports, like well thought of over there, but just never really got the chance internationally, I guess. So there is like part of me that, as I say, would like to see one of these guys get a chance. But as I say, for me, Gahey starts, Konza starts, and I believe we've got a 2 out of 3 there. So those will be the FBFC starting centre backs. Yeah, it's just a case of then deciding who comes with.
If this player's fit, he had a bad injury. I think he's back in training now. I really do like Levi Colwill. Yeah. I think there's a player there, and I think before he got injured, he was playing really well for Chelsea. Hit Chalobah as well. I think he's had a pretty decent season at quite a turbulent Chelsea side that's been up and down. I do like Colwill. I just don't know if he's in that similar camp to John Stones. If he's ready to go, take him, but don't take a risk on him. I'd rather you take someone who gets minutes week in, week out, like Dan Burn or Chalobah, or I think Lewis Dunk was in the Euros 26-man squad as well from 2 years ago. I wouldn't take Lewis Dunk, but someone who's just playing minutes week in, week out, used to the physicality. It's going to be a really difficult tournament to play with the humidity and the heat over there as well. So having players that are very not just coming off the back of an injury, but actually active, I think is going to be important. So I think for me, that would be my fourth choice.
I think realistically, you can probably pick between Stones or Colwill and just assume one of them will be fit. Is four centre-backs enough, you think?
For me, it is, I think.
I don't know. Because Gahey's not exactly got a clean record. I think Konsa's missed some games too. This is where it comes back to having that positional cover, because I look at this list, and although I don't think he deserves it, I want to be very clear about that. Joe Gomez can cover left back, right back, and centre back.
Yeah.
And I think in a tournament squad, you need a player like that who's probably not going to play, but if the worst happens, then he covers.
Cover there. Yeah.
I mean, we can stick with this 4 for now and then kind of see how many players we've got left at the end. Obviously, I think it's not that you want this. There is some defensive midfielders who also could cover there if need be. And especially with how football is now, some of the right back, left back options we've mentioned can also slot in at centre back. So the ones I've noted down, as I say, Gahey and Konza to start, Maguire and Ben currently in the squad. And then let's move on to left back, which I'm going to hand over to you guys because I already know where this is going. I would love to do an argument for Lewis Skelly, and 12 months ago, he would have been in the squad. He hasn't played enough this year. So I'm going to say my bit, and I'm going to hand it over to you two to fight. Lewis Hall is my starting left back. O'Reilly is in the squad. I'll now hand it over to you two because I know what's going to happen. Go ahead, Rich.
Well, do you know what? I'll let Dan go first. Let's have the Nico O'Reilly shout.
I'm in agreement that that's the two we should be taking.
Yep.
And as much as I would love Nico O'Reilly to start, I think he's been great this season. I do just think he fits more of a Pep system. Like, naturally, he's a midfielder. He started at left back for us because we didn't have anyone there, and he's just adapted that position. but he's adapted to that position in the City team where he can move into midfield. And like we saw last weekend, he started left back. He scored 2 headers in the 6-yard box. I just don't think it's the same role to be playing for England. Like, if I did have a bit of City bias, yeah, he would be starting for me. But realistically, I think it should be Lewis Hall and Nico on the bench, because he can then just also cover a lot of midfield positions as well. The only other shout I'm willing to listen to is potentially Luke Shaw, if he's fit, because he always seems to get fit for England. No matter how little he's played for United, he seems to be perfectly fit for the World Cups and Euros.
I think he's played a lot for United this season now.
Has he?
I think he's played most games.
Can't say I've watched too much United this year.
This season. Let me. I want to get a fact check on that, but I feel like he's played. Yeah, he's played 31 games. He's played every game this season for Man United.
Christ.
He's one of those that you could put centre back.
Exactly.
Hold on a second. We can't be talking Luke Shaw at centre back.
No, you talked about the versatility.
Yeah. So he can play left back, but then if we need him to, we can also drop in centre half.
I'm not having like a 32 now year old Luke Shaw. By the way, it feels like he's been around forever. Only yesterday he broke out of Southampton and had that silver team of the season card in FIFA.
I don't think he's on the plane, and I think Lewis Hall starts. I think Lewis Hall gives us something. Also, I've not seen Nico O'Reilly does a lot of things that Lewis Hall can't do, but the one thing that I think Lewis Hall gives us that I've not seen Nico O'Reilly do really is whip unbelievable balls into the box. Lewis Hall's left foot down that left-hand side, he can put in some really, really good crosses. And I think international football, just getting the ball into areas, it's important. Getting down the wings and getting balls into the box, you score a lot of goals from that. So I think Lewis Hall for me, he would be starting. I think it's pretty cut and dry on left back. I only think we've got two very good options.
There is also just a flashback. The wild card of Livramento could also just play there. Yeah. So there is options, and again, I think that's why you take Livramento, because he's going to offer you exactly that.
Just before we finish on left backs, it is nice that we can finally go into a tournament with a solid set of left backs. I think recently it's been Luke Shaw and whoever's fit at the time.
Left back, didn't we?
And it's also just hoping that Luke Shaw stays fit as well.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like we've gone in thinking bringing Luke Shaw back to fitness to start, and then had like Ashley Young been in there, Danny Rose is in one of the World Cup squads. Like I don't remember a World Cup where we've gone in thinking we've got a solid set of fullbacks there.
Central midfield.
This one's a real fun one. Again, I'll just run through the names. Got Rice, who I think do we need to discuss Rice really? That's a starter for everyone. Instant starter. England's best midfielder, in my opinion. And
I think his partner is where the discussion is.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll just run through these names again, just so that they're out there. We've got Anderson, who's obviously had a pretty notable season. Adam Wharton, Jordan Henderson, which is a fun one. We've got Garner from Everton. Archie Gray from Tottenham. I think we know where we're all thinking there. There's also Gallagher, who's obviously at Spurs as well. Loftus-Cheek, Menu, and Dewsbury Hall are the listed ones. Bearing in mind, we're going to go on to attacking midfield options as a whole separate section. Yeah. So, it is a case of the partner. I think, again, just for context, are we all kind of thinking a similar formation, like a 4-2-3-1 kind of thing? 4-3-3?
Yeah, 4-3-3, 4-2-3-1, 2 holding,
and attacking.
1-10.
Yeah. So I think to begin, like Rice, like the past like year or two, has like really evolved. Like at West Ham, he was more of a sitter who could go forward. Now he's a centre mid who can just kind of do it all. So although it's the boring pick, you want a sitter next to him, and that's probably the only one out of that list is Adam Wharton.
Yeah.
Elliot Anderson's a bit more box to box, and I think pretty much everyone on that list is. So, at least in my head, that one's the one that makes the most sense. I don't think that's what's going to happen, but that's what I personally would do. What about you guys?
I would also go with that. I prefer... I know they play slightly different roles, but I prefer Adam Wharton over Elliot Anderson. There's not too much in it, but I think Wharton's the better player. Every time I've watched him, you can kind of notice he is the standout for Palace. And like you said, you'd rather someone sit a little bit deeper, let Rice push forward. And I think if Anderson is pairing him, we've got two very similar roles in that holding two. I'm judging by your take. I don't think you agree.
I can't tell what Rich is thinking right now.
I love Adam Wharton. I think he's outstanding. I actually saw him at Blackburn Rovers just before Palace bought him, and in the Championship, and he was just such a lovely player to watch. I'd like him to start, but I don't think he does. I really don't think he does. I don't know if you saw the comments from Tuchel about James Garner from Friday. He said he's our mini Valverde. He was
is he playing right back? Is he playing right wing?
Of praise on James Garner. James Garner, I don't think he starts, but I think he's in that squad.
I think he's after those comments. I think he will be.
Then,
and you know what? I don't mind that.
Puts up a really difficult situation because I also think Kobbie Mainoo should be in the squad as well.
Yeah.
So are we taking 5 holding midfielders /8s? One of these will miss.
Right now on paper, yeah. I also want to throw a really insane spanner into the works here, right? I want to very much put an asterisk on this.
Can I guess before you say it?
You know where I'm going to go in, but
Is it going to be Jordan Henderson?
Yes, but I want to get the asterisk in first because this is not what I think should happen and definitely not what I want. Tuchel likes him.
Yeah.
I think that's, again, there is going to be some picks in this squad that people aren't going to like, but they're going to be picked because of who they are and not necessarily just what they've done in their careers, but also we're not fully privy to know what kind of bonds these players have. Yeah. We don't fully know who are the guys who just keep the group together. If Tuchel thinks Henderson's one of those guys, a leader, someone who brings people together, he'll just be part of the squad because, and that's the end of it.
Is that something we need in there as well? Though, no matter how bad he is, not how bad he's playing, but he's not at the level of these players we're suggesting should be in the squad. But
I don't think we do need him. We can't have stragglers.
I don't think it's about stragglers, but some of the comments about old England squads, right? We had 5 of the best midfielders in the world at one point. The Scholes, Gerrard, which era I'm talking about. Every single comment that's come out about those squads are that they all hated each other because of club level. And it never ever worked for England at international level because apparently, and again, we can only go off what's been said, they all hated each other. When they turned up for the England squad, they stayed in their groups. All the Man United players stayed together, the Arsenal players, Chelsea, they didn't get involved. One thing Southgate did really well, evidently, is everyone is now friends.
Team cohesion.
Yeah, that's the word. But he's not on my plane. Sadly, I'm not booking it. But yeah, I think what we're going to have to do is get some more players in, and then we're going to have to drop some people out at the end. But for now, I think a general consensus, at least 2 out of 3, is Rice and Wharton to start.
I would like to see that, yeah.
And then Anderson, Garner, and Mainoo currently we have on the plane, but we might have to kick someone off when we have the limit of the squad soon. Now a fun one. Attacking midfielders. Phil Foden, Jude Bellingham, Cole Palmer, Eze, Rodgers, Gibbs White. I didn't know about this last one. You're going to have to educate me on that one, Dan.
Mateus Mane, the Wolves kid.
That's a very bold
it's a very niche
throw-in, given
I don't think he will be
where they are.
I wanted to put him on the list anyway. I'm gonna start with Foden. As much as I would love to see him there, I don't think he goes. I don't think I can justify putting him on our plane to the World Cup. He is one of the most talented players I've ever seen, but I just don't think this season's performances can back it up. What we saw the year that we did 4 in a row, I think it was. He carried us that league title.
You're PFA Player of the Year, no?
Yeah, we won that league title because Foden carried us those last that second half of the season, and I just don't know where that's gone. Last season was a bit of the same. It wasn't the same Foden we've seen, and this season even more so. We've seen Shirky come in and kind of take that starting spot on the right. Whoever we played in the 10, Foden can't get in there either. I do think he's more of an 8. I think he's better, a little bit deeper, and like progressing the play. But I just, based on this season, I can't justify taking him.
Yeah, I mean,
So
for
who
me,
starts?
I think Bellingham has. I don't know. I think Bellingham has to. But
I have a take on that, which people are not going to like. Bellingham is 100% in this squad, right? I think we can all agree.
Yeah.
I think in England's actual best 11, he does not start, which I know people won't like.
Yeah.
But I just think the system just doesn't suit him. I think he needs the free role, and I don't think we can offer that in the England squad. I don't think we have the players around him to like facilitate it. But just before we move on fully to Jude, Rich, you're in agreement that Foden's just not there at all?
Yeah, which is real sad indictment of where he's last sort of 18 months have been. Because he was, 2 years ago, he was our player to go and win the Euros, wasn't he? He's the guy. Get Foden in the team, no matter what, and try and get
people
something
were
out of
bad
him.
when he wasn't picked.
Yeah.
But,
And it's just a tough situation that we find ourselves in now. And I also think there's been a lot of good performances this season from players, but nobody's playing well right now, and that's the problem. Bellingham is in and out of the team. He's injured. I think Eze is in and out for Arsenal. He gets minutes, he scores hat-tricks, and then he doesn't play, and then he's injured.
We can't play Tottenham every game in the World Cup. Like,
Cole
that's the only...
Palmer...
I'm not having this after what Eze did in the Champions League, so...
Cole Palmer is, I think out of all the 10s we've got, Cole Palmer's got the highest ceiling. I really do think that he is someone that I could see as... If you said we won the World Cup, guess who was our best player? My first pick would be Harry Kane. My second pick would be Cole Palmer. I think he's got that ability to go and do something spectacular.
He is a bit of a tournament player as well. Like,
he is.
I know it's like an ongoing thing.
Cup, outstanding last summer as well for Chelsea.
Yeah. There's
in
like
America.
The whole thing on social about him just being... I don't know how to phrase this without sounding terrible, but he doesn't really have too many thoughts going through his head.
He don't care.
Yeah, and that's a really good attribute.
Yeah.
Like, pressure just isn't a thing to him, and that's
even
a good attribute for a tournament.
When we brought him on in the final of the Euro, like, he's come on, he scored the goal. Yeah. Like, it just doesn't faze him.
I think for me, I would have Bellingham starting. I think he is just a big game player.
Yeah.
I think he relishes the moment. My only problem is, I think if Bellingham plays, I change the system.
Yeah, that's
and I'd go Wharton holding, and I'd go Rice and Bellingham as 2/8s, and I wouldn't play a 10. I'd play more of a compact midfield.
Yeah,
because Bellingham, I don't think is a 10. His best season at Real Madrid was when he basically played as a false 9 up top. So I think he starts. I think he plays, but I would just slightly change that system, and I think you get more out of Rice then as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's fair.
I think, yeah. I'd agree to that if the system changed. My issue with Bellingham was just having him as an out-and-out cam. I don't want him to start if that's the case. But if obviously you switch it up to what you've just mentioned there, then I would agree. This one's kind of tough to leave some names out of, and this is where it's going to get a bit tricky because I think Eze's done enough to be in the squad. He's also a player who obviously does offer some positional depth in other areas too. You can actually say exactly the same for Morgan Rogers. Again,
Absolutely.
Attacking midfielder, but can also play out wide. I don't know who I want to leave out there. Again, just taking the Arsenal hat off, I still want both of them, but I don't think we're going to be able to fit that many players in.
I think Rogers goes over Eze.
I think if I'm picking between them, if we're taking a third and I'm picking between them two, I'm going to go Morgan Rogers. And not because I don't think Eze's done enough this season. I just think Rogers has had a really good season, and for me, is the better player. But that's if we take three.
Look at that quality that's right now not going. Gibbs White, Eze, Foden.
Yeah.
There's a lot there. And again, there is some players who, at least in Tuchel's mind, again, I think he'll be thinking positional coverage, so they could just be in just based off that. But I've got to tell you, I don't like leaving Eze out. And in like my personal one, I'm taking him. But again, I think it is a toss up between Eze and Rodgers.
Yeah.
I think you can't be too mad either way, depending on what team you support. But
we're going to move on to the players off the right, but you only need to take one player off the right. Just take another 10.
Yes, it's like, all right, let's do it. Right winger is Saka, right?
I think that's fairly obvious. Yeah.
But
do we take another?
I wouldn't
think,
personally.
but there is a conversation to be had here. I would take Jared Bowen. I know West Ham are horrific this year, but Jared Bowen's a good player. Great squad player. Again, I hope we don't need it because I'm hoping Kane can just stay fit and score 50 goals. But he can play up front if we need it. He's a good goal scorer and winger. And the other wing options aren't too great. There's Madueke on this list who I don't think should be part of the squad. We've also got Ethan Wanyeri, who I don't think he'll be near it. There is one name, though, I think we have to mention just because of a lot of recency bias. It's Max Dowman. And again, it probably shouldn't be the Arsenal fans saying this. I think there's a chance he goes because you do normally, or at least it's not uncommon, that they will take a young player just along with the squad for tournament experience. Whether he's going to play even a second of football is not the discussion here. They might chuck him on at the end, but he could be involved. I don't think he will be, but I still would take a backup right winger, and that would be Jared Bowen.
I think if we do that and do take a young kid, it's more likely going to be Angamoa than Dalman. But I don't think we'll do that either way. The squad is we're already, we've not even gotten to the attackers and we're struggling to leave people out. I wouldn't be wasting a space taking a kid who's not going to play, essentially.
Should we like move? Sorry, Rich. Should we do wingers maybe more as a whole? Because my next question would have been like if we just moved on to left wingers there. Hypothetically, Saka gets injured. Who's playing on the right?
Rashford.
Yeah.
Yep.
Really? Like you've both said, yes. Really? On the right?
I don't think we've got many others unless you put like Cole Palmer out there. Yeah. I don't think that we've got. The problem is there's some positions in this team. I think goalkeeper. I think right wing, striker. The number one option's there. The second option's there.
Yeah.
In a lot of positions, it's quite competitive. If you are listening, I put one up near my head and one down near my chest. There's competition in other positions. In those three areas of the pitch, Saka is so much better than the other options. Pickford is so much better than the other options. And Harry Kane is so much better than the other striking options. So it leaves this situation like, well, what do you do? Who do you play if that player... Saka does get injured. I think there's a chance in which Saka picks up a knock, someone goes through him in one of those group games, in a first knockout game of the World Cup. There's more games at this World Cup than ever before. Who do you play out there? I would rather play Marcus Rashford or Harvey Barnes off the right than I would Bowen, Madueke, Nwaneri or Dalman. For me personally.
I think that's fair. Like, if I was to consider one of the right wingers we've got at the minute, I would say Bowen. But my only concern there is like, it's a lot different than being the main man at West Ham and everything going through you to then playing on the right of this England team where everything goes through Kane. Like, I just don't know whether he'd have the same impact that he does, that we're seeing for West Ham. Is like, we can say, oh, he scored all these goals for West Ham, like he's carrying them this year. I don't think he has the same effect. He obviously wouldn't have the same effect in the England team. And I think for that reason, we leave him. And I agree with you. If we're looking at a backup right winger if Saka gets injured, I'm more than happy with Rashford on the right. Like, I think Rashford would be one of my go-to wingers to pick in this squad.
I think he's a go-to winger. I just don't think so for the right. Just for continuation purposes, I believe we've currently got 21 people or players on the plane currently, at least on our hypothetical plane. Yeah. So we still, as I say, we're still debating on the winger options, and obviously we've got some strikers to come, but we, in theory, have got 5 slots left, and obviously we can go back to some positions too, and I think we're going to now that we've got there. So
really, we've got 4, haven't we? Because Kane's in.
Yeah.
Yes, Kane is. Let's...
Should we move on to striker, then come back to the wing?
Yeah, I think that's probably a smart thing to do. But as you say, Kane is not just on the plane; he's in whatever seat he wants.
Yeah.
Yeah, playing every single minute, unless we're 7-0 up at halftime, and then we'll rest him.
Yeah. So it's kind of like the goalkeeper situation. Who's his backup? Who are we chucking on at the end to save some energy in the legs? On this list, we've got Watkins, we've got Tony. If Solanke's on this plane, I'm sorry, I like the guy.
I'm closer to being on the plane than Solanke is.
I like the guy, but based off Tottenham this year, it can't be. We've got Delap on this list, Calvert-Lewin, and then a name which I just want to give a brief minute to is Danny Welbeck, who it might start of the season. It sounds crazy. I think he's done enough to at least be in the conversation, at least have a chat about being part of the squad. Again, does offer a bit of positional value as well because he can play off the left a little bit as well as striker. I don't think he'll ultimately be on the plane, but I do think he deserves to, at least be mentioned given, the season that he's had. But for me, I reckon it's going to be Kane starting, and then you've probably got Watkins as the backup. But the issue with England is, and Rich has already said it, the gap between the starting striker and the next one is a whole different league. It's crazy, that drop off.
I would have been very happy to include Watkins, and I still would. But he's not been in this, like we said with Trent, he's not in this 35-man squad. Tuchel's not come out and said, like, oh yeah, I'm leaving him out because I know I'm going to take him. Like, there's no need for me to, like, use him in these games. There's no explanation. Like, he's missed out on the 35. I would still take him, but I don't think he makes it. But then I don't know who that second striker should be then.
There's a name that we've actually missed off that I think he's scored 10 goals in the Serie A this season. Keenan Davis. 10 goals is more goals than most of those strikers on that list. Granted, it is in the Serie A. It was just a recognition for him, more of a tip of the hat. I would take one striker other than Kane, and then I would play one of those left wingers that we talked about as a striker in Anthony Gordon. He's basically been playing up top for Newcastle anyway, and I think he's actually, especially if we're bringing Kane off and bringing Gordon on up top, he stretches the pitch. He's got decent finishing ability. He's rapid. I think he offers us something that those other strikers don't really offer.
Yeah.
If I had to pick a second striker behind Kane, I think you just go Ollie Watkins. He played second fiddle at the Euros. He came on, scored that big goal against the Netherlands to put us into the final. I think when you talk about players being around the camp and knowing sort of role players, I think Watkins is that player. If we had two more positions to pick from and two more players available, Danny Welbeck will be on the plane. But it's a very, very tight team, this. 26, it's not a lot of players.
I think the question is there then, do we even need Watkins? If we're saying we've got good enough backups in Gordon and Rashford for striker,
I would take Watkins just in case.
Yeah. I think with just how this tournament's going to be set out, you're also going to need to... I think there'll be games where Kane needs to come off. I also think although Kane is insanely good at his age as well, if the game's over, I mean, you won't be saying this under Southgate given how obviously games were, but if you can kill off a game early, you take Kane off. And I know he won't want to come off as a striker, he wants to get goals, but he, as I said, the difference between our starting striker and our next striker is such a big gap. You protect Kane as much as you can in this tournament.
Yeah, I don't know how the fixtures are working for us, but I think that third group game, I think we can play a full rested 11. I think the amount of, not that I would hope it goes down to this, but the amount of third place teams that go through because of the new format, realistically, you need 3 points to progress.
Do you know who I feel really bad for with their injury? Because I think he would have been in the team. Jack Grealish. He was very good for Everton this season until he got injured. I think he would have been off that left-hand side, but injuries ruled him out, and I don't think he's going to get a sniff, unfortunately, now. How many players have we got in the squad here? Are we up to 25?
I think we've got one more left. I'll do a quick VAR check while you guys just maybe run through some of the other left wing options? Because there are a couple that we didn't mention.
I think Barnes is a serious shout. Is he just too much of a similar profile though off the left as Gordon?
I think so.
Maybe the case. Jack Grealish, obviously, I think injury is going to rule him out. Jadon Sancho.
I don't think he's done enough for Villa. Like
Engamoa as well. Do we take Eze as one of those off the left options potentially as well? Do you look at Morgan Gibbs? Maybe someone, one of the youngsters that we talked about, Matthias Mane, Nwaneri, Dauman, Engamoa. Is that last spot for one of those players, or do you take another centre back? So we're only taking 4 at the minute.
Yeah,
like I said, I just don't think we can essentially waste the space on one of the kids, because realistically, you can say, "Oh yeah, Ungamoa comes off the bench and gives us something different," but so will one of the wingers we have on the bench. It's like either Rashford or Gordon are going to be on the bench. I'd rather bring one of them on than Ungamoa.
So do you go Stones or Colwill? One of the players coming out of injury, back end of the season. Do you take a risk on someone?
I think that's where I would go. I would pick one of them too. I think, like we said, realistically, only one of them is probably going to be fit by the World Cup.
Jordan Henderson,
if either of them
gets the card nights going,
gets the morale up a little bit. Yeah.
What about you? Where would you go, Kieran?
Just to give the context for us, we are 25 out of 26 right now, so it is really just picking up that last player. It's going to go against everything you guys have just said. I still think I would like a wide right backup, and I would lean into Jared Bowen for that. Gordon off the right, Rashford off the right. I just don't see it. I agree, Cole Palmer can do a job out there. It's tough.
I don't think you're going to agree with me, but if we are saying, okay, we need someone that can play off the right.
Oh, I know. Go
You're
on.
going to say Trent, aren't you?
No, he's going to say Foden.
I'm going to say Foden.
No. Foden off the wings doesn't work. Nope.
All right, fine. I'll go straight down fairly quickly.
You can give your reasoning, but we're just not going to agree. But go on, give us a reason.
No, that's fine. No, my thinking was more like he's very, very, like, he may not have been the best this season, but we know he can be good. And he can play off the right. He can also cover centrally as well. Not that we need it, like we said, we've got a lot of players in there, but just the versatility that he offers and the quality that we know he does have. Is it just a matter of time before he shows it for England? Or are we just saying that he's not done it for England, that you're not getting a call up?
My issue is, and I'm guilty of it myself, you sit there, you watch the game, you're 60 minutes in, you look at the bench and you go, get this player on, get this player on, get this player on. I want the best players on the pitch. I don't want the best players sat on the bench.
Yeah.
And I think if I look across that squad, which player that we've not selected now is good enough to take a starting position off one of the starters that we've picked. And I think for me, there's probably only one name in there that I think if they fancied it and Tuchel put them in, I think could replicate that performance. It is probably Eze. I think with what he's done, he's shown that he can play in the big games. FA Cup final last season, he scored that goal to beat Man City. He has been very, very good, obviously, throughout Crystal Palace. He moved to Arsenal. He's been in and out of the team, but also Arsenal have got a lot of quality in that position. Odegaard got injured. I think Eze did step up and played quite well in the 10. But I also think Eze is good enough if you need to occupy someone off the right. If Saka does get injured, I'd be happy to put Eze out there. I'd be happy to put Eze off the left if we need him. I've even seen him play slightly deeper as sort of an 8 and grit about in the middle of the pitch. I would probably say for that last pick, probably Eze. But he's one of those that probably not happy to sit on the bench, like a Jordan Henderson or a Danny Welbeck.
I think it's a bit different when it's a World Cup tournament. I think a lot of these players just they want their chance to be in the squad, so if they get the opportunity in the game, they can have an impact. I know, Dan, you wanted to make a point. I'll come back to you before I ask this key question. But if you take Eze, I think you drop someone else. But Dan, I'll let you finish your point first.
I was more just going to say, like, I think it's a bit different sitting on the bench. You're not moving for a transfer where it's like, oh, you're going to sit on the bench for the season, you might get your chance. This is a 4-week tournament where realistically you're going to get minutes. Someone as good as Eze is going to get minutes at the tournament. And would you rather get minutes, maybe not starting, but potentially get a medal for winning the World Cup, or I'm not going to start every game, so I'm going to sit at home and watch my team win the tournament? Not that we're going to win the World Cup, but I think it's a bit different saying you'll happily sit on the bench for a tournament than like a season at a club.
So just going back to that point then, just given what we've said, and again, this last spot for me, I still think we need right wing coverage, but I won't go into that. We had a big chat earlier when we were doing attacking midfielders between Eze and Rodgers. Now you've given that argument, and we know Rodgers isn't going to start, and I want to be very clear in this. I think he does deserve to go. But since we've had that discussion there and we're coming down to like we now need to cut people and make picks, do you then flip and take Eze instead of Rodgers? Because I agree, like if you need impact to come off the bench, I would rather we subbed Eze on than Rodgers. Yeah. We know Rodgers isn't going to start. So then do we swap that round?
You're not going to sub both of them on?
Probably not.
For me, no, because I think on Rodgers' season, he deserves to be in the squad. That's where I'm going on that one. I think if we're talking there about you can not play a minute, but you're still part of the squad, he deserves to have the recognition of being in the squad.
So are we leaning towards Eze, and then I'll read out the squad and just kind of mention what we're missing?
I think I'm happy to go with that.
Okay, so let's run through a list then, because it's very interesting. I'm going to read out first who we've got, and then we'll discuss who we've left out, right? So our goalkeepers, we've gone with 3. Pickford is our starter. Trafford's our, let's call him third choice, and Henderson second. I think we all kind of agreed to that. Positionally, like second and third, does it matter? Probably not. Right backs, we all agreed we would start Trent. Again, Tuchel might not, but that's what we've gone with. We've also agreed to take James as kind of the backup, and then Livramento, who will cover both right and left back. Speaking of, we've kind of agreed on Lewis Hall being our starting left back. And then O'Reilly being in the squad, who can obviously also cover in midfield. And then centre-backs, we're taking 4, Gahey, Maguire, Konza, and Burns. Burn. Interestingly, by the way, there, we're starting 2 mobile ones, and then our 2 backups are 2 really slow, but just really physical guys, which is very, very interesting. Then going into midfield, we're collectively agreeing on a Rice and Wharton 2, and then Bellingham, however you want to set up that configuration in midfield. And then in the squad, Elliot Anderson, Garner, Menu, Palmer, Eze, and Rodgers. Again, there's some names here that are getting missed out, which is why I'm smiling. Winger options, we've got Saka, Gordon, and Rashford as our out-and-out winger selection. And then strikers, we've got Harry Kane and Ollie Watkins. I guess before we talk about who's missing, if that was the squad announced tomorrow, we're happy?
I think so.
It's collectively what we've come to.
Yeah, I think so.
I think so.
The question makes more sense in a minute when I start ripping off names who we've left out. So let's do that then. So I'm not going to speak about any of the other goalkeepers because Butland's not getting in. I mean, Steele could be a part of it just because we've seen
maybe that's the 26th.
If we take 4 goalkeepers, there's a problem.
No, I think if you do that, you take him as a third.
He should be sacked if he takes 4 goalkeepers. That would be freaky.
I think taking 3 is a little bit much. But
I think if you even had like that much of an injury crisis, there would be some kind of, you could appeal and get some kind of suspension from the squad.
Maybe James comes and does it.
Yeah, it'd be something weird. But Ramsdale, Pope, Steele, and Butland, who we left out. Again, I wouldn't be sad if Ramsdale got into the squad, but I've got no arguments there. Yep. Right back, we have left out Ben White, who, again, I would like to see on the plane, but I know you guys very much in agreement. Trippier, a bit old now. Dej Spence, can't believe he's on this list. Rico Lewis, just no. I think where there's more of a talking point here is in centre-back, we've left out John Stones.
Yep.
We've left out Tomori. We kind of had a chat about Colwill, but we ended up going against it, but he could be in there. There's Joe Gomez on that list, Lewis Dunk, Chalobah. Anyone really to discuss there?
Quansah, potentially. Like, I can't say I've watched him too much at Leverkusen, but I do think he's had a good season. I think he's been included in the England setup a couple of times, but again, I just don't think he's with very limited spots. I don't think he gets in the 4
It's
or even 5.
Stones. It's Stones, really. If Stones comes back, plays the back end of the season for Man City, it does look fit, does look ready to go, he gets in. I think he's one of those players that if he's ready to go, I think Tuchel will pick him.
It is a fitness question, isn't it?
I just don't think he will be fit.
If he is, hypothetically, do you just straight swap him for Dan Burn, or does someone else drop out?
Because you're swapping for Dan Burn.
Okay.
You're then hoping he doesn't get injured in the tournament and we're left with one backup centre back.
Well, I don't think he plays. I think Stones is that backup.
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
And then if Gahey or Conser got injured,
yeah, and then he comes in.
You go back in and you probably drop the other one and you go Stones Maguire.
Yeah, that makes sense.
The midfield. This is where there's some really fun names. So missing out in our hypothetical England squad, Jordan Henderson, which I don't think there'll be too many complaints about. Again, I want to put it out there. I think there is a chance he goes just based off of cohesion, but he wouldn't be in mine. Archie Gray, Gallagher, like these Tottenham players do not deserve to be near an international squad after the season they've put together. Even though Archie Gray does look like he's got a bit about him, maybe in the future, but get out of Tottenham.
That's the only one I was going to say. Like, it's a bit give him the Tottenham label, because I do think he's been one of their best players this season.
For the good of your career, on the very, very off chance that you listen to this, please leave. Just go somewhere else.
In the summer.
Yeah, go somewhere
back
else.
to Leeds.
Yeah.
Honestly.
It would. It really would. Loftus-Cheek and Dewsbury Hall are the other defensive options. I don't think we're too worried about leaving either of those out. I think it's in the attacking options where there's more of a conversation, right? Okay, so the attacking options we've left out. I'm not going to go into Mane too much time because I don't think it's a thing.
That's fine.
We are leaving out Gibbs-White. Forrest obviously haven't had the best of seasons. He is still a pretty good player, and I think it's fair to say he won't be at Forest next year. And then Foden, we've kind of done that debate already numerous times now. I think there is an argument to take him, but I just think the other attacking options are just far too strong.
I'm not going to try and fight that anymore.
I don't think he can. For me, the problem is you can't leave out any of the others.
For Foden.
I think there'd be a bigger commotion if you left out Palmer for Foden, for example. Yeah. So, that's where we see it. Like, what about those wingers?
Yeah, some really good names here. Again, just to put it out there, I'd be taking Jared Bowen. I know as like a consensus, we've agreed that we're not, but I would take Jared Bowen. He's leaving out. Noni Madueke, as an Arsenal fan, I've got no issues there, which is a shame because he is a player who tries, and I can see he tries. It's just the effort is up here, the skill level's just not quite there yet, and you can see that the way he runs. And I like how direct he is, but yeah, he's got some stuff to work on. And again, this is very Arsenal heavy, and I didn't even do this list. Wanyeri is the next option. I think he started really well at Marseille, actually. Yeah. I think the issue is Marseille. If he'd have put some more games together, if there wasn't the big fallout over there, I think he would have an argument because he started quite well, but things just fell apart really quick and he just hasn't played enough. And then Max Dowman, he's played one notable game for the rest of the public. Arsenal fans have known how good he is for a while, but I'd love him to be a part of it. But the squad's too tight. So any other comments on the right wingers, guys, before we list off the left side?
I don't think so.
Okay, the left. We're leaving out Harvey Barnes. I think that's just he hasn't been awful. He has had some good impact for Newcastle, but again, I think the squad just limits it. Grealish, I think, just injuries.
Yeah.
I think again,
I think he'd have been in if he was still fit. Yeah.
Stays fit, you want him about. It's Jadon Sancho. I don't know what's happened to this kid. It's probably not a one for this podcast, but insane potential that just fell off a cliff. I think the wrong career moves is what's happened and just isn't a part of it. And then obviously got Ria from Liverpool, who, again, similar to Dalman and Wanyeri, I just think it's if you could take a bigger squad, you take one of these kids, but it's not worth taking the risk.
26. Yeah. You're not wasting a spot to...
I'm trying to think if there's anyone else off the left.
Well,
Gittins, was he ever in contention? I'm just trying to think other players. There's a real lack of wingers outside Saka who are
well, that's
really
why I'm
good.
I'm worried about the right wing, especially with like Saka. Is like he's picking up a lot of like little injuries here and there, and like this tournament's pretty intense, and that's why I think like a Jared Bowen should go. But just to mention, Rich, just because we categorized him as like kind of a left wing back. Lewis Potter is also an option off the left. I don't think he's going to be near it. I'm just mentioning him so it's not missed out. But yeah, though I think in the world of football in general, and again, this is like a chat for like when we talk about Salah, who obviously now we know is leaving Liverpool. Who can Liverpool actually sign in that right wing spot? Who is not just good but elite? I don't think there's many elite wingers in the world of football in general right now.
No, I think that's one position we're kind of lacking a lot of world class talent.
I mean, it's Yamal than the rest, really, especially off the right.
Saka, but yeah.
Saka, yeah. I mean, yeah. Come on, let's be serious here.
but yeah, I if you were to do like a top 5 wingers, and again, this is exercise for another day, I think you'd really, really struggle. I think what would happen is, the gap we've spoken about between Kane and the rest of the strikers. I think you're going to name 2 or 3 right wingers who are elite top level, and then them 4 or 5. Just the gap between them is going to be so huge. But yeah, that's wingers, and then the strikers that we've left out. Ivan Toney, I feel like his career move has just taken him out of the conversation. Yeah. Although Dan loves penalties, so maybe he'd take him for his note.
The one I did see someone, I can't remember where it was. It might have been on Sky. They were talking about it, and they were kind of saying, "Well, Tony plays in a hot climate, and we're playing in the US." I don't think that's enough to consider him for the squad.
We're taking people based on the squad, although where they live. Like someone bring Bradley Wright Phillips out of retirement and throw him up top because he played in the MLS for 5 years.
Exactly that. We've also left off Solanke. Again, it's the Tottenham attachment. I think if he'd actually have stayed, well, it's Bournemouth he was at.
Yeah.
He probably had an argument for the tournament if he'd have stayed there and put up the same numbers.
I think Solanke he's also been injured. A lot of these players injury in and out of the team,
Like, I think if they were fully fit, they would have had less of a conversation around it.
The 2 that I feel bad for, Welbeck and Calvert-Lewin.
Yeah.
So I think both of them have had very good seasons. Calvert-Lewin came on against Uruguay, I'm pretty sure. He missed a big chance at the back post when to go maybe 1-0 up or 2-0 up it was. I think he offers us something very different to anybody else that we've got in that team in terms of big physical striker. But it's you can only get 26 players, and I would probably say 10 of the 26 also just pick themselves.
Yeah,
and so then you basically got 16 spots available for the rest of the country, and it's a tough job for Tuchel.
I think we've done a good enough job there. Like I would be happy if this was the 26 we took to the World Cup.
Just to end us off then, just for a bit of fun, who is Tuchel chucking in this squad that's going to get people going? Because there'll be 1 or 2 every time there's an England squad. There's always like one player. It's like, why is he in this squad?
But I know we've spoken about it, but I think it was Jordan Henderson.
Yeah, I've got a sneaky feeling he's in the squad. I don't like it. I don't think it's the right move.
But
I've just got a sneaky feeling he's in.
Or we might get taken for like morale. Can we not just hire him as a coach? Like, is there any rules against that? And just have him around the squad?
It's a fair point.
Yeah, he could. I think he takes Madueke if he's ready to go.
Is he in this 35?
He was. He got brought off. I think he got injured.
He got injured, didn't he?
And you know what? I just spoke about him. I think he takes Calvert-Lewin.
Is that over Watkins, or we just take 3 strikers?
I think he'll take 3 up top.
I just find it so hard when we get to this point of like who are we dropping out. I think it's going to have to be one of the midfielders,
I think he takes Calvert-Lewin over Watkins purely because he's not been in this 35, even though he's been fit and played most of the season. But I wouldn't do that, but I think that's what he might do.
Villa are having a good year.
Yeah, that's why.
But Watkins isn't.
Yeah,
That's the thing.
Miller
And
had a
who
good
is
year.
Morgan Rogers?
Yeah.
Him in the team. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. It's tough. It's tough. But okay. I mean, we put together a 26. Some interesting names in there, and obviously some even more interesting names left out. But you know what's really weird? Well, like, when you do like certain names, you think, oh, it's a really good squad. But then like when you truly break it down, I'm like, you can like kind of see where the weaknesses are as well.
Yeah.
100%.
Like we are like super strong in a couple of areas, but we are super weak in a couple of others.
Yeah.
Centre
We're
back.
also yeah.
It would be kind of like that for other nations. Like we might look at France and think, "Oh, France have got a load of quality," but if we broke it down, we could kind of find the problem areas and like where they're lacking. Not that we've got another hour to do that.
I don't think it's as much like Rich made a point earlier. Like in some areas, we're like an injury away from oops.
Catastrophe.
Yeah.
If Kane breaks his leg in the back end of the
World Cup's
season,
over. Yeah.
we are in DEFCON 5.
Yeah.
And Danny Welbeck's getting the England shirt on, and he's probably leading the line. Or,
At that point, play Jude as a false nine.
well, I think you put, maybe Jude or Gordon. I think you probably put up there. What the last thing I was going to say on this? Do we have in any position the best player in the world?
I think so.
Harry Kane up top.
Harry Kane, yeah. I think that's the only position, but
I
we
think
do.
I'm gonna be the biased
Rice.
one, but Declan Rice is. I don't think right now you can name a better midfielder. I really don't, especially in the specific role as well that we're talking. And the midfield, if you're doing a free, even a worst case scenario, he's a top 3 midfielder in the world.
Yeah.
You're playing a free, so I would say Rice and Kane.
Yeah. It's really not bad going to a tournament with like 2 of the best players in the world.
I just don't think in any other role there is that standout as much as I would love to be like Saka, but it's just not true, especially with how he's been this season.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, I the one area that I'm just glaring at right now that worries me, and I don't think it's a fixable problem, I think that's the issue, is centre-back. Like, I just don't think we have the options there.
Well, we have the options, they're just not great.
Or they've been injured.
Yeah, like we've got more than enough players to pick from, but it's the quality.
Maybe we should go 4 centre backs. That's the common trend, isn't it? Conser right back, Maguire next to Gay here, and then Dan Burn left back.
Yeah.
4 centre backs across the back 4.
Part of the bus. Yeah.
Dan Burn does cover left back, so it might be a case of Lewis Hall or O'Reilly misses out.
Yeah. And we'll get Joe Gomez in there to play right back.
He's another one that I could still see being part of the squad, just because of that. So if Henderson and Gomez are in, I don't really agree with it, but
surprised.
Yeah,
you know, I don't think I'm going to be surprised whatever squad he announces, unless he suddenly decides Kane's not going. That's probably the only surprise.
I don't think there'll be surprises. There'll just be stuff that you just don't agree with.
Yeah,
like I don't think the player pool is actually that big for options for this tournament.
I think when you talk about those midfield options, depending on who he fancies or not, there's a world in which a big central midfielder. We took 5 central mids, sixers, CDMs, whatever you want to call them, defensive midfielders. I think there's a world in which one of those doesn't go, whether it's Wharton, whether it's Anderson, whether it's Garner. I think any of those
could be Manu.
Annoys a fan base. Manu. If Manu doesn't go, people will be asking questions. I think that's the position. He's not going to take 5.
No.
One of those, and Rice is in. So one of those 4 won't go. I know he likes Anderson. It
Clearly
seems like he really likes Garner, Mini Valverde. The public consensus is people really like Wharton because he does something those can't do and like really plays forward quickly. But one of those won't go, and that will be the position in which I think a bit of controversy.
There is also in our hypothetical team, right? We've just been kind of having a real big discussion on who that last player is to fill that spot. We've also all put Trent definitely in our team,
and he probably doesn't go.
There is a chance that Tuchel doesn't put him in at all, and that obviously frees up another spot for him to, pick. So there is that too. But I don't like Trent just because I'm an Arsenal fan and hated how good he was at Liverpool. But I think it'd be crazy not to take him. No one can. I don't think anyone on the planet can ping a ball like him. Active players right now.
He can't defend though.
Like he can't.
Right back.
He can, but I'll sub him on in midfield.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah. Well, I think then one last thing before we round up. How far do we think England actually get in this tournament?
Semis.
Do you reckon that far?
Yeah, I think there's enough about this squad. I just international football is just very, very different. And although like Southgate was incredibly annoying to watch and it was really depressing football, I don't think Tuchel, or at least in the friendlies we've seen, I just haven't seen anything that's made me convinced that we're gonna take that step up to beat some of these other international teams. I think it's also a case of just when I look around, I just fancy France and Spain and these kind of teams more than I do England. But it's not impossible. I just don't have that much faith in Tuchel. I will happily be proven wrong.
I think I've got all the faith in Tuchel. I saw him go to Man City in the Champions League final and turn them over. So anything's possible.
Don't need to mention that.
I think in the big games, I trust him more than I do most other managers, and I think he'll have that calendar planned out. He'll know exactly who we more than likely going to be playing each step of the knockouts, and I actually think we make the final.
Yeah, I think.
Do we win it? You said we'd make it.
I
You
don't
didn't
want to answer
say.
that question yet. I don't want to answer that question yet.
Don't want to jinx it.
No.
Jinx it.
But I think we make it
I
to the final.
I think semis is realistic, but ultimately it's a new manager, like a new setup. We could crash out in the round of 16.
According to the bookies and whatnot, we're second favourites behind Spain to win the World Cup.
Yeah, but we're always high up.
Yeah,
Like,
I think that's just like our own country bias. Like every time, as soon as this tournament comes around, I'm going to be saying we're going to win it as well.
Yeah.
Well, I've gone early.
We win that first game and we're winning a lot.
It's only March.
Yeah, there's still a bit of time left. I guess we can kind of end off then. Let's do some really, really stupidly early predictions. And then we'll revisit the predictions before the tournament when we know the squads, right? So I guess based off of this squad that we think is going for England, and based off what we know, who is your actual winner for the tournament? I think, and this is the boring pick, I'm not actually going with Spain. I think France. But again, yeah, France, Spain, England is like, they're all pretty boring.
I think that'll be three of the four semi-finalists.
Yeah. So I'm going to pick France.
I'm going to go with Spain for my World Cup winner.
He's gone favourite. Boo.
Yeah, I know it's boring.
Come on, Richie. You back in England or not?
I don't know.
He wants to do it.
I think we won't play Spain in the final if it goes how it goes. I think we'll play them in the semis. I think we beat Spain in the semi-final. Yeah, I think we win it. I think we beat France in the final. I think that's when I was looking at it earlier. I think that's how it shapes up if everyone wins their groups as they should. And I think we beat France in the final.
Well, I look forward to coming back to this in 3-4 months' time, and hopefully you're correct. But I think that's everything for this week. That rounds us up nicely. Thank you for joining us for another episode of the FBFC podcast, and we'll see you all next week for hopefully a weekend of bumper FA Cup action.